Now, from wildfires to floods and heat waves, anxiety is running high around the impact of climate change. This week, a landmark UN report warned human activity is changing the climate in unprecedented and sometimes irreversible ways, sounding a code red for humanity. A report from Imperial College London's Institute of Global Health Innovation suggests evidence is also mounting that climate change poses a threat to mental health. Well, Dr. Grant Blashki is an associate professor at the University of Melbourne's Nussel Institute for Global Health and the author of the book Climate, Health and Courage. He's seen firsthand the impact of climate change and anxiety in Australia, which has been ravaged by natural disasters. He joins me now from Melbourne. Dr. Blashki, thank you very much for being on the programme. Climate anxiety sounds like a bit of a label that could potentially be attributed to everyday concerns and worries. Is it real, and is it specifically because of climate change?
Yes, so as a clinical GP, it's certainly a real phenomena. I see it amongst patients, particularly some of the young patients are really worried about it. It's not a technical psychiatric classification in the formal DSM-5, that's the sort of psychiatric Bible. But the research recently in Australia showed that more than 5,000 people in this survey, and Australians are 3 times as worried about climate change as they are about COVID.
How does climate anxiety specifically manifest itself?
Well, it's a mixture of feelings, worry. Some people get more despondent, some are angry. It tends to come in waves, between feeling ambivalent and sort of denial, and triggers such as the IPCC report that you just talked about, which is pretty worrying, and also extreme weather events. For example, these wildfires and floods in Turkey that your program's just been talking about. These, once people have seen the problem of climate change, they sort of can't unsee it. For Australians, we had really nasty fires at the end of 2019, and the depth of that got drowned out a bit by the pandemic, but there were 18 million hectares, almost 6,000 buildings, 1 billion animals, and quite significant mental health fallout, post-traumatic stress, depression, anxiety.
Just to play devil's advocate, surely some element of climate anxiety is a good thing. We have these reports giving us a code red warning on humanity. We should be worried, we should be anxious, because that will prompt us to act, no?
I couldn't agree with you more, Rich. I mean, appropriate worry is not an anxiety condition. We ought to be worried. The recent report, global temperature 1.1 degree up, they're telling us possibly 1.5 degrees by 2030. And, CO2 the highest it's been in 2 million years. So, yes, appropriate worry is essential. I guess unhelpful anxiety is sort of paralysing, too much guilt, too much sense you'll be able to fix it on your own. But really, a mature way to approach it is to say it's not too late. All efforts are actually worthwhile. 2 degrees rise would be a lot better than 4 degrees. And we have to convince our leaders to be brave and have ambitious goals for this upcoming Glasgow COP26 meeting, especially Australia.
Australia specifically has really seen the devastating effects of climate change. How has climate anxiety manifested itself specifically in Australia? Yeah,
so unfortunately, Australia is one of the driest continents in the world, so we're really vulnerable to climate change. And as I said, these fires were really quite extreme. And the problem is, at a political level, it's been a real hot potato. We've had 4 prime ministers where climate change has been the catalyst for their undoing, because Australia's economy is very linked into fossil fuels. So at the moment, we don't have a national plan for net zero emissions. We don't have a national plan to stop burning coal, and we ranked last out of 170 countries at the recent UN Sustainable Development Goal Progress Report on climate change. So Australia definitely needs to step up and do much better when we have this upcoming meeting in Glasgow.
Dr. Grant Blashki from the University of Melbourne. Fascinating to talk to you. Thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you.